Now we're going to talk about worksheet tabs. A single Excel file is called a workbook, and as such it's made up of pages or worksheets. Worksheets are used to organize your information in a way that makes sense for you. If you have a workbook tracking sales for your company, for example, you might want a worksheet tab to represent different months of the year. As you see here, we can even color code them to represent quarters. You might also have a workbook that's just tracking schedules for your family. You know, what's daddy doing? I'm doing work. And you could have a tab for each different person in your family. The last example we're going to look at is if you were, maybe you're a project manager, and you might have each project on a separate tab, but then want a summary tab at the beginning to show a summary of where each project was. Worksheet tabs are good for all these functions. And what we're going to do now is look at some different ways to work with these worksheet tabs. For starters, let's just look at a couple of ways to insert a new worksheet tab if we need one. I'm going to click over here, one of these tabs on the project management demonstration. And I'm going to go, the first way I'm going to use is the home ribbon. Click on the home ribbon, and I'm going to go over here to my insert command over on the right side. And if I click the drop down arrow next to it, I can come down here and say insert sheet. So that's a ribbon way to insert a sheet. Okay? Now, to delete a worksheet, what we're going to do is we're just going to right click on that worksheet and select delete. That'll delete the worksheet. Now that leads us right into another way to insert sheets. If I right click on any of the worksheets, I can bring up the insert dialog box, which will show me some different sheets that I can insert. We're primarily just going to work with worksheet or a chart sheet in this class. Some of these others are provided for backwards compatibility, or they're templates we might have used before. But for now, we're just going to click on worksheet. That inserts another sheet. The final way to insert a worksheet, we'll have to use these navigation buttons, which we'll talk about in a minute, is at the end of all the worksheet tabs, you have a new sheet tab. If you just click on this, that just puts a brand new worksheet in. So I could click that a few times and put new sheets in. That's probably the fastest way, but it just inserts a worksheet, wherever you are. I'll go ahead and delete all those sheets out for now. Well, now that we've created a new worksheet, we might want to rename it. Okay, so the easiest way to do that is if you just click on the sheet and then you double click it, you can just rename it right there. I'm going to call this one Resources. Okay, and then click OK. And if you notice, all my projects are green in this. I might want to color code my tab. Since this is Resources, I might give it a different color. So again, I'm going to right click on that tab and go to Tab Color. Maybe my resources are going to be this red color. Okay? So now I've got a different tab color for my resources. And that kind of sets it apart from the other options in my workbook. Well, let's say that I want to move the order of the tabs around. I don't like the way they're showing up here. I want the resources at the end. Again, we're going to go back to that tab, click on it, then we're going to do our right click, and we're going to come up to the Move or Copy dialog box. If I click on that, I've got an option of where I want to put that Resources tab. I can put it before any other sheet in this workbook, or I can move it to the end. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and put it before the summary sheet, so I'll put it in the beginning. Now another way to move a worksheet tab, which is a little bit faster than the right click, is simply to click on it to activate it, then click it and drag it. And you notice you get a little visual cue, that little black triangle, that you're actually moving it. So I can just move it down to the end. And that's another way to reorganize our worksheet tabs. Well, we've seen a few ways to insert a new worksheet, but there's also another useful feature in that we can copy a worksheet. If I've already got a template made up that I want to use the whole thing, I can just create a copy. And I can do that by right-clicking on the Worksheet tab and go to my Move or Copy. And this time I'm going to move this before my disaster recovery, but I'm going to create a copy. And I click OK. And what that did is that created an exact copy with all the setups, all the tables and layouts and formulas, so I don't have to redo that. Then I could just type a new project name at the bottom. And that's a quick way to make a copy of a template you have on another worksheet tab. Well, now that we've looked at a few ways to work with worksheet tabs to insert them, delete them, rename them, and change colors, let's look at the bottom section where the worksheet tabs reside and explore that a little bit more. One of the things we haven't talked about yet is that this first area here on the left is where all the worksheet tabs are, and the area on the right is where the horizontal scroll bar for the worksheet is. Now, you can use the scroll bar and use the arrows to go back and forth. One of the things you can do is change the amount of space each of these areas take up. If you move your mouse so it's in between the horizontal scroll bar and the worksheet tabs, your icon changes to a sizing icon. If I take this and I click it and drag it to the right, then more of the bottom area is used for worksheet tabs. If I move it all the way to the left, more of that area is used for the horizontal scroll bar. Typically it's good to keep it in the middle. It's just nice to know that you can do that in case somebody messes up your settings. So the next thing we're going to look at is the worksheet navigation buttons. And these are these 4 arrows to the left of the worksheet tabs. Let's look at the inner ones first, the ones that are just left and right arrows without going to the line. If I click on this, if I'm in a workbook that has many worksheets and I can't see them all, I can click the right arrow to have the worksheet area scroll. Now notice, it still doesn't change my active worksheet. I'm still on the one I started with. I still have to actually physically click on the worksheet I want to look at. So all these do is scroll the worksheet tabs. If I use the left arrow, it'll scroll one at a time. If I use the outside arrows, this one on the far left that has a line next to it, that'll scroll me to the first worksheet in the workbook. And this one on the right, yep, that'll move me to the last one. Now the last feature about these worksheet navigation buttons that's really neat is if you right click on those, you'll get a list of all the worksheets in your workbook right there. So you can click on whichever one you want to go to. Just right click on the navigation buttons and just click on the tab. Okay? Now if you don't see your sheet, like if you have more sheets than will even show up on this big list of worksheets, you'll see this more sheets option at the bottom. If you click that, you get a dialog box that's scrollable that shows every worksheet in your workbook, and then you can go to all of them, all the way to number 1. Well, that's about wraps it up for the worksheet tabs and the worksheet navigation areas. Like I said in the beginning, they really add a lot of flexibility to your Excel workbooks, but it's kind of up to you how you want them to work. Whatever works for you is going to be the right answer in working with the worksheet tabs.